So, are you ready, Brian, for the main event of the evening?
In my eyes, we already saw it, but let's go to the men's blood and guts match.
Well, again, and this, say what you want about the girls' match, but at least they put all their top girls in it. This was like, the parade of mid card champions. They started out with Darby and Wheeler, and they're in a cage match. So naturally, they started on the floor. And after a couple minutes, they got in the cage, and Darby had his skateboard with thumbtacks on it. And old Wheeler starts bleeding already. But this time, I guess they were running late because it didn't take them 5 minutes. This time, they shaved some of the 5 minutes off, and Pockets moped in and took his time with no enthusiasm, doing his gimmick where he wanders in and he then crushes his sunglasses and stabs Wheeler in the face with them.
Hey, can I ask you a question before you go forward?
Please do. Please do.
Conceptually, booking wise, there are inherent problems with the baby faces having the advantage. How do you do that and not have it turn into two baby faces just kicking the shit out of a heel for minutes at a time?
Well, like they do here later on when they hurt one of the baby faces so bad that he can't come out, and that they announce that he's definitely not going to be medically cleared to compete in the thing. And then he comes out 10 minutes later and kicks everybody's ass, not showing any goddamn signs of weather. I see that. And I guess we should have mentioned that in the girls, the heels had the advantage. So this time the baby faces have the man advantage where they get the extra guy to come in first, which again, that's why the heels always won the coin flip. Cause it hurts the match, and it takes away comebacks and excitement. But the reason why that it wasn't a problem when the heels always won the coin flip is because you're only supposed to have one of these like every 3 or 4 years. Then it wouldn't have been as big a deal. But in 2 per night, they got to switch it around a little bit. So, but that's another thing. At one when Briscoe's music played, I don't want to get ahead of myself too much, but the baby faces had the advantage of the man, but the baby faces were already beating up the 2 heels to begin with before that they found out Briscoe wasn't coming out. So they couldn't even. You see where I'm going with this. But the point is, the first 4 guys are Darby Allin, Wheeler Useless, Danny Garcia, and Pockets. Nobody in the ring weighed 185 pounds. Dipshit Pockets is dressed like he normally does, so it looks like a mechanic wandered in. The rest of them look like children. And then they're having a children's cage match. And then, as I said, when the Briscoe music plays, there's no Briscoe. So in the middle of the cage match, they go to roving reporter Renee Moxley-Good in the back with video where Kyle O'Reilly and Roddy Strong find Mark Briscoe down and selling from what we don't know. Who did it? Who did it? Oh. And Roddy says, I'll go. So Roddy's taking this turn. So Roderick Strong runs out to the ring. While in the ring, everybody's standing and watching the goddamn screen. They don't want to do anything to distract the people from knowing what the fuck. So everything in the ring comes to a halt. Then Roddy makes a comeback. And then he turns around and leaves the cage and gets the chair and comes back in. Now they've got the rules where that until everybody's in the ring, they don't lock the door. Except they make a big deal out of stealing the key afterward. So anyway, here comes Claudio. And again, I wrote, there's no stars. And Roddy, by this point, is bleeding slightly. He got what they used to term in the locker room when someone would get juice that was highly underwhelming. He got a pap smear. And then Kyle O'Reilly comes out. And by this point, you can hear the people are sitting there. They're waiting for the blood. They're waiting for the furniture, or they're waiting for somebody to get hurt. And in between, they don't really give a shit because they've already seen this shit. And these aren't even the fucking main event guys.
I was surprised the lack of reaction Kyle O'Reilly got coming out. Not that they didn't react to him again later on in the match, but he comes off 2 weeks of the Moxley stuff, which you could argue is being done to make him at least a little bigger than he is now. And he's actually done really well in it, but they didn't really react to him coming in.
That's because it's been 2 or 3 weeks of the Moxley stuff as opposed to 2 or 3 years of the way that they've treated him like a fucking idiot. So it takes a while for people to get the memo. And then when he does shit right in front of them, they react to it. But they're still not to the point where Kyle O'Reilly's going to come out, oh my God, it's Kyle. Because most people are used to, it's fucking Kyle. Because of the way they've presented him. And speaking of presentation, Dick the Boozer still has to do his entrance where he wanders in from the parking lot with the spooky lighting. And again, everything in the ring, there's nothing happening. They're all waiting for him. And did you see him trip trying to get over the rail? And the fans actually laughed at him. They're like, well, look at this stumble bum. And he gets in the ring, and his contribution is stabbing everybody in the head with a fork. And then he goes out and gets the barbed wire bat and the ice bucket with broken glass from the girls' match that nobody bothered to remove from ringside. And the girls already did it. He's bringing the scraps from the girls' match in. And as Moxley stabbed O'Reilly with the broken mirror, Renee Moxley Good was given a voiceover update that Mark Briscoe was all fucked up and wasn't going to be in the match.
Yeah, while her husband's doing that, she's not only giving a voice update, they have her image on the screen on the bottom corner.
Well, just to make sure you know this is real sports. So then Moxley dumped the broken glass all over the place and pile drove Darby Allin in the glass. And they had another break, and then they came back from that, and everybody bunched up in the middle of the ring all of a sudden, and then so Darby could climb out to the top of the cage underneath and just let go, and they could catch him. And then everybody falls down. They were all looking up at him. If they'd have just backed up, there would have been no problem. And then here came Pac. No stars. And now they were all in the ring, though. And they got the tables in the ring, leaned up in the corners, and they got broken glass, and they got thumbtacks. And then here comes Mark Briscoe, who was fine. What was hurt on him? Did you see anything hurt?
No.
He came in with a chair and a toolbox and a set of bolt cutters and cut the lock off with the bolt cutters and threw the toolbox in and made a comeback. And then the baby faces had a logging chain and a wrench, and Briscoe got on the floor and beat up Useless and Garcia, and he put Garcia on the table and was going to climb the cage, but Garcia rolled off. So now Briscoe and Useless were on the top of the cage. And at this point, all that mattered was these two wandering around on top of the cage. Everybody else just laying down there selling. And Briscoe hauls a chair up to the top with a fucking rope, but O'Reilly hooked it on and it got stuck, but then nothing was happening. But then they fought with the chairs. And then they went to the break, and they came back from the break, and nothing was happening in the ring, and they were still on top. And then Mark gave Wheeler a J driller on the top of the cage and started climbing down, and everybody in the ring was like they were in quicksand. And there was some more fighting on. And then here came Gabe Kidd. who I thought was Josh Alexander. And Gabe Kidd leveled Darby Allin and kidnapped him to the back of the arena. But now in the ring, Pockets Garcia's got him in a sleeper. So to show that Garcia's sleeper ain't shit, Pockets puts his hands in his pockets. But then Dick the Boozer comes up with a staple gun and staples Pockets' hands in his pockets. And Brian, guess what happened right then?
What happened?
That was 10:30, and my DVR froze because this week was a 2.5-hour program, and they still ran over. And I didn't think to record the show after the goddamn extra 30 minutes, but I thought it was fitting that my DVR froze when Dipshit had got his own hand stapled in his own pockets. But apparently afterwards, they set Darby on fire by throwing him through 2 flaming tables and had to put him out with a fire extinguisher. And then after all of that, Moxley tapped out to Kyle O'Reilly's choke.
With some ridiculous facial expressions from Moxley, which I think in his head looked like, oh, I really don't know what to do. I have to tap, but looked ridiculous.
Do we know if Darby lost any skin in this immolation that he went through? Because they said he was on fire for just a second or two.
I have not heard. What are your final thoughts about the men's blood and guts match?
After the women had done it and done it better, and this, the band of merry mid-carders, and it made even less sense. The people just sat there. They're like, what the fuck? There was 2 hours on this television show, and for those people in the arena, they didn't get the commercials to break it up, of just watching these idiots meander around, making up different goofy jackass style ways to semi-hurt each other. And it's just meaningless. And they still don't get it. They can't get over his personalities. They can't get personal issues and animosity over because nobody believes it, because not only the booking, but most of the performances are so preposterous and silly and wink, wink. And it's just a car crash, and the people honestly don't care whether the good driver or the bad driver wins as long as they run into each other. So that's what they've got. And what are you going to do after this? And again, in the same program, you've electrocuted one motherfucker, set another motherfucker on fire. The people with goddamn neck braces and slings are chasing each other around the ring. Everybody's got a belt. Nobody knows who the top guys are supposed to be and who the bottom ones are, because Tony doesn't. And at the root of the thing, Tony lets these guys and girls do whatever they want because he's going to pay them no matter what, whether they're in the ring or in an iron lung. And Tony's a mark for this shit too. Because of, as I mentioned, whatever the cognitive issues are that he has. This is the kind of thing he just loves. So it will continue to happen. They just got to find new people with more skin and bones to break and burn.